Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live, everyone. The cryptocurrency market cap globally is sitting at about $1.93 trillion. That's a rise of about 5% over the last day, according to CoinMarketCap. Now, taking a look at some of the major cryptocurrencies here on your screen, we've got Bitcoin. That's higher on the day by about 5%, sitting higher by about $2,229 there, sitting just above or just below $44,000 as of right now. Ether or Ethereum, that's a hot topic of debate, depending upon the conversations you're having. Right now, it's sitting at about $2,957. That's up on the day, as well as increases across the board for Litecoin, Solana, and Dogecoin. All of those higher by about 2% for Litecoin, for Dogecoin by about 3.6%, and for Solana by about 0.5% right now.
Well, as Brad highlighted, Bitcoin prices are soaring for a second straight session, with prices briefly breaking back above the $44,000 level intraday. To break down the latest price action in Bitcoin and the other major cryptocurrencies and how this has been driven, at least in part, by what we're seeing occur between Russia and Ukraine, we're welcoming in Scott Cipollina, Decrypt investigative journalist. Scott, it's great having you on. What are you seeing as the biggest factors that are driving this recovery rally that we're seeing in the major cryptocurrencies today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, I mean, I suppose I just start off by saying that really the crypto market sort of nosedived in lockstep with the rest of the world's financial markets. At the news of the invasion, 200 billion had been wiped out from the crypto market cap following Russia's invasion. That happened within the first 24 hours of the invasion actually occurring. Now Bitcoin is, as you've just shown on your price list there, back above 40,000. But really, we saw a surge and a rebound and a recovery. About a day after the invasion began, we saw Bitcoin fall to a low of about under 35,000. And within the next 24 to 48 hours, Bitcoin had actually recovered to a price of about 38,000. And now we've seen that it's broken that sort of ever psychologically important bracket, should you say, of 40K. And other cryptocurrencies are also firmly in the green, as you've just mentioned, reiterating here that Ethereum is up 13% on the week, and other cryptocurrencies as well, like XRP, are up double digits this week too. So it's been a tumultuous week for sure, as it has been for the rest of the world's economy. But it does seem as though the crypto markets are recovering.
And Scott, earlier this year, we saw the correlation between Bitcoin and technology stocks especially reach a record high. Yet now that correlation is breaking down. Of course, Bitcoin is moving higher. The NASDAQ is moving lower during today's session. Over the long term, is Bitcoin going to behave more like a safe haven asset or more like a risk asset?
It's hard to say. I think that, that what we always like to say at Decrypt is whenever somebody says that they know exactly what's going to happen with cryptocurrency prices, we like to say that they don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen because it's fundamentally speculative. And we've seen over the last week, of course, we've seen a lot of conversations we had about the role of cryptocurrencies in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There's been about $20 million worth of cryptocurrencies that have been donated to the Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian government has actually been tweeting out Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses to receive some donations. But then, of course, there's also a lot of justified concern, I would say, about the way that cryptocurrencies can help Russia evade sanctions. We've seen widespread sanctions applied against the Russian government and Russian interests over the last week, of course. So it would depend. I think that a lot of the conversation regarding price will inevitably be tied to the way that the crypto industry has been perceived and will be perceived with regard to the ongoing conflict.
And you were just mentioning, and you've also written about for Decrypt, about how cryptocurrencies could be used to undermine sanctions, such as what we're seeing begin to play out with Russia. Does this create a greater incentive for the U.S. to want to try and crack down and regulate cryptocurrencies more fervently? And is that something investors should be worried about?
I would be surprised if it did not act as that sort of a motivation, definitely. And just to briefly categorize what we're discussing here with regard to the role that cryptocurrencies can play with regard to evading sanctions, a recent study came out that found about 75% of all ransomware revenue in 2021 went to sources that were affiliated with Russia in some way. I actually spoke with a former FBI agent who told me that cryptocurrencies are now the, and I quote, primary factor in the ransomware industry. And the reason for that is just because the nuts and bolts of the crypto industry with regard to the speed of payments and the volume of transactions that we see. So there's definitely a lot of concern on that regard. I mean, we've also seen how far this can go previously. A UN report that was published a few months back found that North Korea's nuclear ballistics program had actually been part financed by cryptocurrencies. But then, of course, there are also, you mentioned what the US's response will be to this. It's already in play. In October last year, the US Treasury published a report, and it found that cryptocurrencies, well, it said that cryptocurrencies provided malign actors with financial streams of income that can help them evade sanctions. And just today, I actually wrote a story about some additional sanctions that are going to be put forward by the United States, building on an existing executive order from this administration to target, and I quote, deceptive or structured sanctions or dealings to circumvent any US sanctions, including those through the use of digital currencies. So this is certainly something that the US is not blind or ignorant to, and I would say that the same would go for the rest of the world.
Well, and all this said, at least for now, crypto exchanges, including Binance and Coinbase, have said they will not implement a blanket ban of all Russian addresses, as Ukraine's vice prime minister has called for, saying that they would instead only continue complying with blocking accounts of sanctioned individuals or entities. What do you think was potentially behind this decision, and what do you think was being considered by some of these platforms in making this announcement?
Sure. Well, I mean, these announcements have come hot off the heels of Ukraine's vice prime minister, Sir Mikhailo Fedorov, who called on all major cryptocurrency exchanges to ban Russian users. And Binance, Kraken, Coinbase have all said that there are no legal grounds to do so, and they have all reiterated that they will comply with sanctions as and when that they are put into place. And I think that what's interesting here has been there's a discussion within the wider crypto industry about what the role of cryptocurrencies are for, and many folks believe that they are, in terms of emancipating financial access for individuals. That's something that sanctions are a little bit anathema to people in the crypto industry. So I think that there's that, and that there's a deeper ideological discussion to have there. But there's also just the fact that these exchanges have pointed out there is no, as of right now, legal grounds to actually ban these users coming out of Russia. Now that in the coming days and weeks might change. The Ministry of Digital Transformation in Ukraine is reportedly preparing legal demands to put forward to these exchanges. And as I said already, the US Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, which is the sanctioning authority in the United States, is preparing to build on that pre-existing executive order from the Biden administration in order to more closely target transactions that are deceptive or structured that use digital currencies in order to circumvent US sanctions. So this is obviously a fluid situation. It's still developing. And as and when some of these sanctions might hit the crypto industry, we might have to see a change in decision-making with regard to different exchanges.
Scott Cipollina is Decrypt investigative journalist, and we thank you so much for your time and for helping us make sense of the price action and the developments today in the cryptocurrency space.